Shirky's Machine, most entertaining channel you've ever seen. He's always making lots of interesting scenes for you to watch on YouTube.
Alright, so today we're taking the JTM30 apart with Craig Barnett of Craigar Electronics, a regularly featured amplification and guitar professional. Wouldn't you describe? You'd use that term, right?
I would probably use the term
major
geek.
enthusiast.
Yeah. All right, so we just want to make sure that this thing is working. What do we got? Standby power. And we'll just give it like 30 seconds or so.
What do you know about this particular model?
They really don't sound all that great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so they make a perfect specimen.
Yeah, indeed. The idea, of course, here is that we're going to use your word, flip.
That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to flip it. So basically the best thing to do with one of these is to harvest whatever parts out of it that you can and reuse them. There's a few things probably that are just going to hit the trash can, which probably is the entire circuit board. Yes, that will go in the trash. The pots are probably little miniature things that are stuck onto the board. Those are useless. So we're gonna turn this into a hand-wired bad boy.
Nice.
Instead of a printed circuit board turd,
And as
which is what it is right now. It definitely works for a small band situation. Throw a mic in front of it. It does the trick, but
it's got a pure clean channel.
yeah, I don't really like the boost channel. It doesn't really sound really pleasing. It kind of is gritty and sandy, and I just don't like it. So we're going to take care of all that. I'm not really sure if this baffle comes out of here. It looks like it's got some glue around the back, but I've got some really cool grill cloth that would look nice with this green, kind of greenish looking Tolex that it has on here. Yeah, in fact, your 18 watt, I think I've got a big enough piece of that diamond.
Oh, that's
that would look
beautiful.
real nice because it's gold and brown, and it would kind of tie in with this. But I got a whole box full of different cloths we can use.
Okay.
So now that we know that this works, do we want to like plug a guitar into it and kind of see what we're sounding like?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Decent, not too bad.
Could be worse, right?
And then when you stick the gain channel on, now that really, I mean,
Start to sound pretty poopy now.
yeah, and then it's just ugly.
Not good.
That's just ugly.
That's not a good sound.
No.
Here's that was on the neck pickup, but so we'll give it a chance, right, to put it on
Right.
the bridge.
But the problem being is when you've got your foot switch on the floor and you're going between the two channels, you've got this decent clean, and then all of a sudden, what do you wind up with? It disappears. I never used it.
Boy, that's not. That's not good.
And if you turn the gain down to get something a little more usable, it's not so bad.
That's not bad. I mean, that right there is almost.
But you gotta dime the volume and turn the gain way down because
Yeah.
it's a, So that could be usable in a band situation.
Terribly disappointing. So.
Yeah.
Are we snobs? I don't know. We're just purists.
I don't think so.
But even the speaker. I mean, what's your call on this?
It doesn't sound too bad to me. I mean, it's the Marshall Heritage speaker. I think it sounds pretty good actually. So we probably, depending on which amp you want to flip this into, will probably dictate which speaker you're going to want to either stay with this one, or maybe that George Alessandro Eminence, if you want more of an American sounding thing as opposed to British, with the, you know, kind of mid-rangey but yet plenty of top.
Right. Yeah. So you were talking about the first goal is safety first, huh?
Absolutely. I'm not going to stick my fingers in that thing. So just kind of get things apart here. That screwdriver's not going to fit, so let's see if I can just do it by hand. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that might be a little bit too long. Got a shorty here. Alright. I don't even remember what the inside of these things looks like, but I can imagine what it looks like. It looks like some robot made it. That's what it looks like.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it'll look like an assembly line box, no?
Yeah. And then I'm not really sure exactly how the design of the circuit board is in there, but I'm just assuming that their idea was to put the power tubes on a horizontal plane as opposed to a vertical plane to get rid of the problem of heat coming up straight up into the chassis and burning components that are soldered to the board.
Okay.
I'm thinking the power tube sockets are just soldered to the circuit board, and in that event, what happens is the heat just rises and eventually stuff burns. And so I think their idea of putting them on a horizontal plane was a good one, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I suppose, huh?
That gets rid of that. What else do you have here? I'm gonna get rid of these cables here from the reverb. Okay, that's gone. And then I'm trying to remember how this sucker comes out of here, but I'm thinking
It's just gonna fall when you
Yeah.
get to the top.
that's what I'm afraid of. I think it's kind of stuck up in the front panel there.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to drop on your speaker.
I'll work on it.
Okay.
Well, it seems like you were right. Just, good lord.
Ew. Yuck.
Ugh.
Okay. Well, we got a pretty nice platform to work with, possibly. I think though the chassis, we're gonna have to bend a new chassis for this.
Yeah, look at how odd that is with its
Yeah.
little, what do you call
But-
it, shape?
As you can see, if you look up in there, you can see that the power tubes they're directly mounted to the board and soldered on. They're not hand wired. And if it was like this, if that's how it was hanging in there, that heat rising up there, it lifts the traces off, and it just makes not a good design.
Yeah.
So at least they did have a good design going on here.
With the horizontal deal.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we can just put it like this so I can get a read on if it's safe to stick my fingers into. Just lean it up against there. And then turn my meter on and see if it's discharged or not. Let's see. Oh, I can't tell which one is ground. No, well, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, so we've still got 128 volts sitting in there. And let me tell you, it's not a pleasant feeling to get zapped with the leftovers.
I can't
So we
imagine.
get rid of the leftovers right now. So I would probably just be, there we go. Not probably discharged it right there. But in an abundance of caution, we're still gonna check it. Well, we got about 9 volts sitting in there. Now let's see what we got here. Yeah. All right, looks like we're good to stick our fingers in there. 9 volts isn't gonna do anything. There's about 10 on that, but that's nothing. So, now we need to figure out what it is that we're going to flip this into. A Sovtek MiG-50.
Was your first tube amp?
I believe that's the first tube amp that I owned, because before that it was all, you know, the solid state Fender, the solids, and then the rack stuff of the 80s, you know. Everyone had their little Digitech DS5 or whatever it was called.
Right,
You
or the
know.
floor version of them, right? Little big stomp boxes.
So, you know, you program all these great sounds and everything, and then you get into the band situation and you're, you know, tap dancing on that all night, forgetting about your playing ability,
Right.
just worried about your tap dance. Tap dance, no good.
No good.
No. All right, we got the tubes out, so these would make a fine pair. This is your power transformer, and this is your output transformer. Those would make a fine pair for an amp that would run 2 6L6s. These are 5881s, the Russian version, which they're not really real 5881s. They're something different, but they're labeled that. So, and then the rest of them are just 12AX7s. So,
Which would be repurposed, I think.
yeah, these are fine. These are Chinese ones, and they really have a good sound. These were actually fairly well built tubes of the time. This is probably from the 90s, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And oh, look, yeah, it does look like the baffle comes out of here, even though it's glued down. Oh no, that's just a pick.
Oh yeah.
Bonus.
How about that?
Here you go. All right.
There it is.
So, and then this we have no use for. That's going to hit the garbage. But I think the speaker is a good one.
Okay.
And if we're going to go with the 6L6 route, it has a 16 ohm tap on that output transformer for this speaker. So let's get the speaker out. And it looks like the little Marshall symbol right here can be pushed out. Just this little plastic shit can be drilled out and it'll come right off.
Nice. And we pop that grill off, or that grill cloth, because you want it to.
We could if we made an emblem big enough to cover, because it's probably behind it is going to be darker, or you know, kind of stained from just the environment, and then behind it you're still going to have the Marshall. But if we had a plate that covered the same real estate, then we wouldn't have to change the grill cloth. It's a nice look with this Tolex, I think.
So we're talking about reusing this speaker potentially, and of course that depends on what is selected to fill up the chassis, or to fully replace this chassis. So
I really like the Celestion Vintage 30. They've got the Heritage Vintage 30. I'm not sure what the G12 is. I'm assuming it's like a 65 or 75 watt speaker, which it sounds fine. It just depends on what we put in here, what we're going to want to have in the end. But I really like the Weber Silver Bell as an all-purpose speaker. It's anything you put through it sounds good.
yeah,
And then for a more, and that's kind of a British sounding, chimey, voxy, nice mid, nice top. and plenty of bottom. I understand we have a George Alessandro Eminence on the way.
Well, I didn't order it yet because I thought, wait, you better wait, exactly for the reason that you're saying.
Yeah.
I figured I could order it right here and now if we want, so.
Yeah, you know, I would say probably the best thing to do would be to repurpose this. The only thing is that if we go with the lower wattage EL84 based circuit that I had in mind, we're going to want to have an 8 ohm speaker for that, because the output transformer that I have that I'm going to donate to this project is it only has an 8 ohm tap on it.
I see.
We could get another output transformer that has a 16 ohm tap and you'd be able to use this. But matching impedance in a tube amp is not the same thing as a solid state. So on a solid state amp, if you mismatch it, you're probably, unless it has circuit protection in it that detects, you know, oh shoot, this doesn't have the right load. What you're going to wind up doing is either blowing fuses, or you're going to wind up ruining the power amp portion of it. But in a tube amp, that's not as critical. You can mismatch impedance all day long, and it's not going to hurt anything, assuming that it's within, you know, a certain window.
Right.
So we got this out now, and what did they do? Glue it down or what? Oh shit! It doesn't want to come out.
And all the screws are out, huh?
Yeah.
Glue.
No, it just got stuck on there.
It's had years to, yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is definitely keepable. I mean, you know, it could go in something else if you didn't like it in whatever we pop in here. So let's find a good spot where this isn't going to pick up any kind of metal shavings, right? I don't know if I can get that screwdriver down in there. It just is not. Ah, yes, a cloud of dust. It's like Pigpen. But this is actually kind of part of the fun for me.
Getting it.
Yeah, just dismantling, because you're thinking to yourself, oh, you know, I'm taking apart something that's useful. I mean, I could, you know, have this thing, it's fully functioning. There's nothing wrong with it, except for what we outlined earlier. Man, I'm not getting anywhere with that screw. Let me see if I got something smaller.
Look at the filth. I'm responsible for this filth.
Yeah.
It's my own fault.
Damn. What did they put this in there with?
It's the same thing that held the speaker in.
Go online and see if I can get the schematic. I'm pretty sure I can get it. And then I think Hammond makes replacement transformers for this particular model, and so I'd be able to have the color codes, but you see these are clipped on, so it also gives you which one is which. I don't want to pull it all apart and then go, oh wait, shoot, I don't know where to hook it up.
Yeah.
So I want to have that piece of paper in my hand and know that we're good to go with that. Some of this shielded cable here, this gray stuff, this can probably be reused. Yeah, interesting how they've got the power board mounted like this, and then they've got the preamp board mounted like that. It really saves a lot of space.
So there's nothing dumb about it. It just doesn't have a real good tone.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a matter of component values, and I'm pretty sure they use solid state stuff to get that sandy, gritty, poopy reverb sound. I mean, gain sound.
Yeah.
You know, when you got the gain all turned up. When you turn it down, it doesn't sound that bad.
That little way you had it going, that I don't think I've ever had it that way. That sounded pretty usable.
It was usable, and it was a loud enough of a jump that could work for lead.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the further up on the knob is for, you know, they had to be able to market this thing for kids that are sitting in their bedroom and mom and dad are like going, turn that down,
Yeah,
you know.
and they
so
still
at least
want all
they're
the
able,
gain.
yeah, at least they're able to get their you know, their nice chunky sound at a reasonable low volume.
Right.
But I don't know about you, but I don't sit around and play that.
No.
Anyways, I think we can probably get to the business of pulling this apart. We can reuse the switches if we want. If you wanted lit rocker switches, that could work. None of the pots are going to be usable, so all this is going to be just thrown away. The knobs, since they're the push-on kind, probably not. I might be able to figure out how to put a set screw in there, but probably just be easier to just put some chicken head knobs on it or something.
Yeah.
Like cream-colored ones might look nice.
Oh
With
yeah.
the-
Against this.
Yeah,
What do you call it? This Tolex color.
yeah. I think that could look pretty nice. It just kind of has a nice, with gold, that would probably look pretty nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And then we can do the faceplate in gold the same way as this is, and the Trim King. So basically, for that, all I used was just an anodized piece of aluminum, and then I put my artwork on it. So this is just going to look different on the front. You'll have to decide whether you want the rocker switches or not. The only problem with those is that it requires a square hole. So, and I can do it. It's a little harder than drilling a hole.
Yeah.
Which a round thing is going to be easier for me every time.
Not that people would. Nobody knows
Yeah.
what a JTM30 is anyway, because no one's dumb enough to buy one except for me. But still, you know.
I had one.
Yeah.
I had two.
Okay, well, I can't call you dumb though. That's different.
No, I was dumb. I didn't. I thought the name on the front. I'm like going. This is what I want. You know?
Oh yeah.
And then
Plus,
I
you
want.
sit in the music store and you're looking at prices and everything. Your influence is, you know, I mean, it's kind of endless what influence plays in, but like it's punchy. It can be if you come from a solid state. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Oh
this
yeah.
This is what you know.
Yeah, if you're going from that stage to the tube, now I've got a tube amp.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably just in heaven at first.
I was absolutely in heaven. Because
Yeah.
I also never had a nice guitar, and I bought it at the same time I bought my Les Paul.
Okay.
So of course I'm like, this is just, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find that it's sometimes a little bit intimidating to go into a music store and you know, really have time to experiment with something.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on which store it is, I suppose, but I've kind of found it like, yeah, this is it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like the package. Looks great. It's got, you know, 2 channels. So what more do you want?
Right.
You know, but then it's kind of like the honeymoon phase. It just kind of goes away, and you're just like, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
So I wound up trading this for a Plexi reissue, the 50 watt, the 1987X, and I played that amp for a good few years until I realized that, you know what, this thing is just too loud, and carrying around a 4x12 cabinet just wasn't for me.
It's not realistic, right?
Yeah, and really to get it to move the air and sound how you wanted it to sound, you just had to have the 4x12, I felt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, you know, nowadays people aren't really using these huge, humongous stacks, you know, except on big stages.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're gonna go into a club with that thing. It's like, you know, it's like using a flamethrower in a squirt gun fight. It's,
Yeah.
you know,
You're exactly right.
someone's ears are gonna get burned. Yeah, I'm not needing to have all that extra wattage it's nice to have it if you want it, but it's nice to be able to attenuate that in a usable way. And I don't find this to be usable except for 1 or 2 settings maybe. And then what are you going to do? You're going to throw a bunch of pedals in front of it.
That's it.
So why not just have an amp that sounds great and then throw the pedals in front of that, or in the effects loop, which we're talking about right now.
Indeed we are. And let's talk about why. This is my pedal board. And on my pedal board I have 3 time-based effects. This chorus, this digital delay, and this reverb. And these pedals are definitely not suited to be put in the front end of your amp, especially if you're using overdrive. You're much better suited putting them into an effects loop if your amp offers it. And that's what we're talking about incorporating in this build with Craig. Speaking of the build, in the next episode, Craig's going to download the schematic for the transformers so he can label them for reuse. We're going to get the box cleaned out and start pulling out any unsalvageable parts. Craig provides further insight into how to reuse items like these unique tube sockets. And I get to meet the EMB, the amp that will ultimately decide the outcome of this Marshall JTM30 flip. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed the video, I'd sure appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
The Jerky's Machine, most entertaining channel you've ever seen. He's always making lots of interesting scenes for you to watch on YouTube.